Hello everyone! Welcome to A Sunny Book Nook. My name is Sunny. I am a hater, I'm a reader, and I am a yapper. I like to talk. I like to ramble. And I love to read books that are about queer people and women, written by queer people and women. I'm a feminist, I'm a Marxist. That's who I am. So, today I'm going to be talking about some of my least favorite books that I read in 2023 because why not? I mean, everyone's doing their videos, putting them out, and I'm nothing if not, I don't know, a trend follower, but also a trendsetter, I guess. I'm just going to be talking about some of the books that I really didn't like this year. I actually didn't have any this past year. I didn't have any one-star reads, actually. I don't even know if I often do have one-star reads. I don't really think so, but this year I just didn't mark anything as one star. Mostly because I think I've understood my taste more in terms of picking up books that I think I would fuck with. Regardless, I did end up rating 8 out of the 137 books I read last year 2 stars. So we're going to be talking about them today. If you've been keeping up with my wrap-ups over the course of the past months of 2023, then you'll have heard of these already, of course. This is just my compilation of worst reads of 2023, and yeah, let's just get into it. So this is gonna go in chronological order, I think, or going backwards, like most recent read to earliest read in the year. That means that I'm going to not remember much about it. Also, because if I didn't like the book, then I wouldn't have remembered much about it anyways, because why would I retain something I dislike in my mind? I'm a hater, but I'm not a hater in that way, you know? Like, I don't want to sit with some bullshit when I already sit with so much good writing in the world, you know? The first book I want to talk about is Sword Heart by T. Kingfisher. Now, no one come for me for this, please, because I know T. Kingfisher is a lot of y'all's girl. Like, I know a lot of y'all love her writing and her fantasy, but it just doesn't work for me, okay? I think that Sword Heart as a novel also specifically doesn't work for me because it follows the relationship between a 30-something-year-old woman and like a hundreds of year old man who is also a sword. I mean, I thought that the very beginning of the book was really fun and interesting, and that's why I picked it up, was because it was about a woman who was being terrorized by her family and locked in her room, and she was just like, I guess I have to kill myself because I don't want to marry my fuck-ass cousin who's so annoying or something. And so she tries to kill herself with this sword, but the sword comes to life, and then these shenanigans occur, and there's all this stuff. To be honest, because so much of this was like a romance, but also set in this fantasy universe, I just was disinterested. I did not really give a fuck. I think the reason why I gave it 2 stars as opposed to like 1 star or something was because I didn't think that the writing was terrible. The plot was fairly engaging, and I think that the characters weren't super annoying. Like, I did, have a fair enough time reading this, but I was so irritated the whole time because I was like, you guys are pissing me off. Like, everything that's happening here, all these characters are pissing me off and annoying the fuck out of me, and I could see where it was going, and then when it did go that way, I was like, well, of course. So yeah, it just was a little predictable and irritating in terms of the writing, and the relationship inherently, like the tropes present, just wasn't something I was gonna fuck with anyways. So, I don't know. I mean, I picked it up because I wanted some sort of lighthearted fantasy after I read some lighthearted or more heartwarming types of fantasies that I did really enjoy, and this just really missed the mark for me. So I read The Choice by Penny Hancock, and I read this for work, and yeah, no, it was kind of like, I couldn't tell whether it was going to be a thriller or contemporary literary fiction, and it ended up being the latter, when really it would have worked better as the former, I think, because it's really about this woman who's sort of like she's a relationship therapist, but her family seems idyllic from the outside or something, but her daughter basically ran away from home and disappeared and has had no contact with her family and the rest of her siblings and the rest of our main character's children for a long time now, and her husband has a sort of like chronic illness or something, or he was in an accident or something, so he's kind of like housebound. So we're seeing like this family dynamic as something happens, And I don't know, it's set in like England or something. This character goes out to the docks, our main character does, and there's some sort of secret happening. But I just felt like a lot of the dialogue, a lot of the characterization felt so shallow, and the voices of these characters, none of them were really distinct. The motivations of the characters kind of made sense, I guess, but also a lot of these interpersonal relationship dynamics as they played out kind of boiled down to miscommunication and misunderstanding and lies and stuff that of course happens in real life, but the way that it all played out and the way that like trauma and the aftermath of it is articulated in this book just felt deeply shallow and just not well explored and not within the capacity of this author to be able to explore. And that combined with the plot, which was generally very uninspired to me, just made it a very boring and not fun read. Like, I just didn't really love it. It was not enjoyable. It was such a slog to get through. I just would not recommend it, and I really didn't like it, so that was another 2-star read. It wasn't like terribly written. I just thought it was so dull for the type of story that it was trying to tell, with characters that could have been interesting. I don't know, just failed potential all around. All right, the next book I want to talk about that was a disappointing unfavorite of the year was Breaking and Entering by Dawn Gilmore. This book was a Libro FM ALC audiobook that I listened to, and you can use my affiliate link down below if you want to get Libro FM, if you want to get a Libro FM subscription or buy books off of it, because it's a good audiobook subscription service, alternative to Audible, which is, you know, an Amazon company that fucks over small businesses, and Libro FM directly supports independent bookstores. But anyway, so I listened to this audiobook. It was just strangely racist at various points, just offhand comments here and there that didn't really serve any real purpose in the book. And the story was just so dull for what it was trying to tell, which is about this like woman who is in an unhappy marriage with her husband who's a professor, and then she kind of joins this lock breaking club and then starts just going into people's houses for fun. You would think that that would be an interesting story, but somehow it really was not. It was, again, dully written, and it was uninspired. Nothing really stood out about this book. So it was just a tolerable read that I pushed myself to get through because, like, why not? Maybe something interesting would happen, but, like, kind of nothing did. And I don't know, none of these characters were particularly memorable. I think the opening scene was probably the most memorable part about it, which it's, like, all downhill from there. The next book that I read and kind of hated was The Appointment by Catherine Volkmer. I was oscillating between giving this, like, 3 stars or 1 star. I was just like, I'm so uncomfortable with this. Yet at the same time, I can tell that it's well written and it's an original concept and it's delivered in a way that is like, this is kind of interesting, but oh god, it was such an unenjoyable read because it's basically just this ongoing monologue of this woman directly addressing her therapist. I mean, it's not even a woman, it's transgender fiction, I guess. It's kind of unclear within the book itself, but our main character is this German. They talk about like the sort of weird gender dissociation they have with like their femaleness growing up and their weird relationship with their mom, their sort of discomfort with German identity and the Holocaust and the aftermath of that, and their sort of like liberal guilt and also fetishization of it. It's really strange the way that this character talks about the Holocaust, and I think their therapist is like Jewish, and just the way that it's all confronted is very unfortunate. I get it that we're in the stream of conscious type, just confessional type of story of this person who is in a therapy session, but I was like, okay, therapy cannot fix some people. Some of this is, you're talking so much. I mean, it's a very short book, so there's that at least. You're talking so much, but so much of it just is was so deeply unenjoyable for me to read, and it wasn't unsettling or uncomfortable in a way that like made me think. It was just uncomfortable because I was like, I I don't really give a fuck. I don't think any of this is particularly thoughtful or insightful. It was just strange and disturbing. So the next book that I did not like was The Fiance Farce by Alexandra Bellafleur. Oh boy, this book does like a billionaire fake dating romance. Oh, eye roll. Bellafleur's writing is just not good. I'm sorry. I just think that her female romances and just her romances in general, just the contemporary romance genre might be a bit of a flop for me because it just doesn't hit. And this book in particular, I just found it so opposite of sexy and appealing. It was like following this woman who is very anxious about like dating or whatever, and then this other woman who is kind of an heiress but lives like with all her artsy queer friends in this apartment or whatever, and she modeled for these romance book covers, and her family doesn't really like that, and her fuck ass stepbrother or something used to date this girl that she's now fake dating. They meet at like this wedding, and then they have to like marry each other in order for her to be able to inherit the money that someone left her. It was just so stupid and unoriginal and just not, I'm saying the word unoriginal and uninspired a lot. I'm saying those words a lot, and it's just because a lot of this shit just is. Like, I was bored and tired. Like, girl, these characters are cardboard cutouts and so fucking flat, and it's just unserious. Like, I can't take this romance seriously at all. Pisses me off. I mean, I picked it up knowing that it would be kind of disappointing, but I didn't expect it to be that disappointing. My God. I feel like I can only give a 1-star read to something that was like written by someone who just should not be writing. And it's not that Alexandra Bellafleur should not be writing, because I think she has an audience. The audience is not me, and I'm very critical of the stuff that she does write, though. So the next book I do have here, and that is My Volcano by John Elizabeth Stinson. In this case, I rated it 2 stars, not because I think it was a bad book. I think it was pretty original because we're following all these different perspectives. I mean, I marked it all up because I read this for class, and we had a lot of discussions that were pretty interesting about this, but we're following all these different characters. They're all from different like backgrounds and experiences, and they're all from different places in the world, and we follow this like bee who gets we follow this like force as it's spreading across China or something like that. Basically, there's some sort of weird circumstance that's happening in the world where some things are just popping up, and there's something spreading across the world that's like an infection that makes these animals act weird. It's very strange, but there's also this phenomenon of just webcams that people have that they just have up in their rooms or whatever they're doing, and people just watch it for like comfort and just casually. So we follow this person who works at a rage room, like a place that people go to like break things when they're like angry or whatever. We follow someone who is like a scientist who is like investigating this new phenomenon that's happening all around the world of like these just like weird things popping up. They're not even statues, I forgot what it is, but they're kind of like volcanoes that are just popping up, right? And then we're following this trans guy, I think, who works at a marketing firm, I think, for like a orange juice company. I don't know, we just follow a lot of different disparate perspectives, and they're all numbered. They're pretty short chapters, and they're all numbered, and there's different sections that are separated by real life murders that have happened. So on page 20, it's like June 6, 2016, Henry Green, Columbus, Ohio, shot dead by undercover police after being taunted to pull his gun, age 23. And then another section separator. Well, there's also the chapter separators, these other section separators that with like names like surface waves, but there are other section separators that are basically like epigraphs of these horrific murders of people. August 8th, 2016, Erica Tijerna, El Paso, Texas, stabbed to death with a chisel by the man she had just had sex with, age 36. So we see that all throughout. Like, I think this book is doing something about trying to comment on the violence of the world and modernity and technology. It just didn't really work for me, and I think that the choppy writing style, all these different characters we follow, like, was trying to do something kind of original, and I think it did achieve that, but again, the writing style wasn't for me, and I don't know whether our author is like this white trans person who has a self-insert character who is a white trans writer is that compelling. I don't know. I think I've just read better apocalypse speculative fiction. But I mean, it's an interesting writing style if that sounds interesting to you and then you want to check it out. It just was a 2-star read for me because as much as I could try to appreciate what was happening, I was just so kind of bored reading this. Like, so much was happening and yet so much of it just I could not care, which is weird. And then a book I read in February that I didn't really like was a thriller called All Her Little Secrets by Wanda M. Morris. This book follows this woman who I think is being investigated for, or like she's trying to avoid getting investigated for this murder at her company or something. I really don't remember shit about this. I feel like when I dislike a thriller or when I think a thriller is really mediocre or when I think a mystery or thriller is just something that, or even when I like a mystery thriller, I will often forget the details of what actually is happening in the book unless it's something completely outrageous or, I mean, even then. And like, I guess that's kind of on me, but I don't know. This book was just kind of forgettable to me and I didn't think that our main character and the problems that she was facing, even though they were immense and seemingly insurmountable as she was trying to face them and challenge them. Like, I don't even remember how anything played out because it was so forgettable to me. I feel like the writing style of a lot of thrillers and mysteries, it's like, you're not even appealing to me in any literary sense right now, and I really don't like that. Like, this is a work of literature. This is writing. Like, write. I don't know. It's not even like wild enough shit is happening for me to be just reading for the purpose of that. So I don't know. It just like I'm unconvinced by these characters' motivations and their interactions with each other and the setting of this world. Like, I don't really give a fuck, and that's why I don't remember. Anyways, the last book I want to talk about is another book I think I read in February, maybe January 2023, called Nerd Crush by Alicia Emmerich. This book was a young adult romance that I, again, remember nothing of, besides the fact that it's about this nerdy girl and this boy, I guess, and, like, really did not like the writing style, didn't think the romance was compelling, and I don't remember literally anything else about it. I just remember that I did not fuck with it. I mean, if you watch my February, or maybe, yeah, probably my February wrap-up, I probably talk about this book more at length because it was fresher in my mind at that point. But I also listened to this via the Libro FM influencer ALC program, but I just really did not fuck with this. Like, it wasn't appealing to me. I mean, I think it's harder for me to really get into young adult contemporary romances these days anyway, because I did recently read a young adult romance that I did really enjoy, but it wasn't a contemporary romance, so I don't know. And it also was a queer romance and not a straight one like this, so that might also be a factor. But this book, it just wasn't it for me. But perhaps you would like it if you do enjoy this genre of fiction, because I can really see that for you. It's just not for me, and that's why it was a 2-star read, because it's not memorable to me and I didn't really enjoy my time with it. But it was quick and easy and I got through it and I have no memory of it anymore. So anyways, those are all the books that I read in 2023 that were disappointing, that were my least favorites, that I rated 2 stars, that I just disliked. And these were all of my problems with them and the things I can remember about them and why I disliked them. So I hope you enjoyed this video of me being negative, because I feel like I'm not that negative on this channel that often. And I don't know, I'm not that negative about books and literature in general, I would say. If you agree with any of these opinions, please let me know in the comments. Or if you disagree, also let me know, because, again, I don't remember a lot of what I read in this. Or perhaps if you have read these books and, like, you have a defense of them, I would like to hear it, because I like to, I don't know, you guys seem to be thoughtful people with interesting comments and thoughts if you have read them. So yeah, I hope that this next year I don't read as many duds, although I didn't read that many duds this year. I only read 8, and I think this upcoming year there will be not as many duds either. So that's all we can hope for, right? But also, it's kind of fun to read books that are bad sometimes. I don't really go into reading with that intention the way that other people do, which is also really, it's fun for them and it's fun for me to watch them do that. That's just not my thing, I guess. Anyways, thank you so much for watching, and please subscribe if you haven't already. I appreciate you for being here, and I will see you in my next video, hopefully. Okay, bye!